I called my son to ask what time I should arrive on his wedding day. Before the second ring ended, my future daughter-in-law, Mira, answered with a smile I could hear through the phone. "Oh, we actually got married yesterday. Small ceremony, only the truly special people." Truly special. I stood in my kitchen with a bow on the gift I'd wrapped the night before, feeling like someone had quietly slid the floor out from under me. For 3 years, I had paid their rent when they were short, covered utilities so their lights wouldn't be cut, stocked their fridge when paychecks were late, and bought them a sofa when theirs broke. I had even spent $200 on a dress in pale blue, Mira's favorite color, so I would look nice in their wedding photos. There would be no photos with me in them. There would be no seat with my name on it. When I hung up, my son Leo texted a shrug of an explanation. "It was intimate, Mom. Don't take it personally," but I had already seen the pictures online. Mira in a white dress, her parents on either side, her brother popping a bottle, a caption full of hearts. The only heart not accounted for was mine. A week later, Mira called again, her voice suddenly gentle. "Hey, rent is due. Could you make the transfer you usually do? The landlord is threatening to throw us out." I looked at the neat columns in my checkbook, all the deposits going out to their address, the notes I'd scribbled to remind myself what day to drive to their side of town. I remembered rice and beans dinners in my own kitchen, so I could say yes when they texted, "We're in a bind." "Didn't I mention I'm only helping the special people now?" I said. My tone surprised even me. Calm, level, final. Silence stretched on the line. Then a small, brittle laugh. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said, and ended the call. That night, I didn't cry the way I used to, secretly and in small, ashamed gulps. I sat at the dining table with my bills and did the math no one wants to do about the people they love. 3 years of $500 rent supplements, utilities, grocery drops, last-minute emergencies, a car battery, a dentist bill, a loan that was a loan in name only. Over $30,000 that might as well have had a note pinned to it. "Please keep loving me." I slept fitfully and woke changed. Not hard, just done. I brewed coffee and, for the first time in a long time, didn't wait for my phone to chime with a need that outranked mine. I walked to the bank and asked for Mr. Halpern, the manager who had processed my transfers with small talk and pitying eyes. "I'd like to cancel all recurring payments to my son's household," I said. He looked at me carefully. "Are you sure?" "Yes, and I'd like to remove any shared access and set alerts on my accounts." He printed papers. I signed. My phone buzzed and buzzed in my bag like a trapped insect. I let it. When I returned home, Leo and Mira were parked outside with a man in a slick suit. They let themselves in with keys I had given them back when trust was easy. I found them standing over a spread of my paperwork on the table. "What is going on?" I asked. Mira swept a strand of hair behind her ear, voice syrupy. "We're worried. You've been acting unlike yourself. This is Dr. Ames. He specializes in helping older adults manage complex decisions." The man nodded. "A temporary power of attorney could ease this transition. It's common, just until you feel better." I gathered my documents from under his hands. "Put down my papers and leave my house." Leo frowned. "Mom, you're being irrational. We just want to make sure you don't hurt yourself financially." "Hurt myself?" I said. "I've been bleeding myself dry for 3 years." "That ends now." Mira's tone sharpened. "We have obligations. We counted on you. It's not fair to pull the rug out." "What's not fair?" I said, is being told I'm not special enough to attend your wedding, but special enough to pay for your life. The lawyer's smile thinned. If your judgment is impaired, a court can assign a guardian. I took a breath that felt like a new life entering me. Get out. They didn't go quietly. Over the next days, my phone was a siren. When I stopped answering, texts stacked up. Guilt, flattery, anger, threats, a carousel. I changed the locks, installed cameras, and called the attorney who had handled my husband's will long ago. Mrs. Patel listened to everything without expression, then folded her hands. "What they're attempting is not unusual," she said. "It has a name, elder financial abuse. We'll document every transfer, every message, every attempt to coerce you, and we'll prepare for the possibility they escalate." They did. A social worker rang my doorbell one morning with a clipboard and careful smile. "We received concerns about your well-being," she said. "May I come in?" I called Mrs. Patel, who arrived with a briefcase and an unshakable presence. We answered questions plainly. I paid my bills on time. I drove myself to appointments. I had friends I saw weekly. I took vitamins and walked in the afternoons. The social worker's professional tone softened. "You seem perfectly capable," she said before leaving. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience." The next day, a certified letter arrived, a petition in family court claiming I was no longer able to manage my affairs. Leo had signed it. Mira had included an affidavit. They'd even collected statements from a neighbor who disliked my new cameras, and a pharmacist who, it turned out, had been misled into signing a vague form. Mrs. Patel's voice was steady. "We'll respond. I want you evaluated by Dr. Lin, neutral, respected, precise. We'll subpoena the pharmacist for a corrected statement. We'll bring your bank manager, your security installer, anyone who can speak to your clarity and choices." "What if the judge believes them anyway?" I asked. "Then we appeal," she said. "But I've met a lot of people, Ms. Hart." "You are not confused. You are awake. In the middle of this storm, I met my neighbor, Ruth, properly. She'd lived 2 doors down for 10 years, and we had never exchanged more than hello. She arrived with a casserole and listened as if I were telling her the weather. My son tried the same, she said. He called it protecting me, when what he meant was protecting his lifestyle. I learned to like my own company. Then I learned I had company. She gestured around the small living room, bright with plants. We're all learning together. I started to sleep again. I started to eat better. I called my sister in Oregon and confessed what pride had kept me from saying for years, that I had been buying a relationship and calling it love. She didn't say I told you so. She said, "Come visit. We'll sit by the ocean until you remember who you are." The hearing day was bright and cold. I wore a dark suit that fit like backbone. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Leo stared at the floor, jaw tight. Mira's eyes were dry and gleaming. Their attorney was polished, practiced. He painted me as a fragile woman led astray by meddling neighbors and greedy lawyers. He talked about paranoia because of cameras, isolation because I had new friends, sudden financial changes as evidence of decline. He used my boundaries as proof of illness. Then Mrs. Patel stood. "What you've heard is a story about control," she said. "Here are the facts." She walked the judge through my bank records and the long list of help I had provided. She submitted Dr. Lin's evaluation. I scored well above average on memory, planning, comprehension. She produced Mr. Halpern to testify that I understood all account changes and initiated them calmly. She introduced the installer who explained the security system was routine and rational after unauthorized entry. She called Ruth and 2 others from our building to describe my routines, my walks, my community. When I testified, my hands did not shake. "Why did you cut off financial support?" Mrs. Patel asked. "Because I realized my money was welcome and my presence was not," I said. "Because I was told I wasn't special enough to witness my child's vows, but was expected to finance the honeymoon. Because love without respect is just dependence wearing perfume." The opposing attorney tried to rattle me, asking whether I felt lonely, whether my husband's death had made me vulnerable, whether I regretted my harshness. I answered simply, I felt sad sometimes, yes. I missed my husband, yes. I regretted only that it took so long to draw a line. The judge took a recess that stretched like an hour into a small eternity. When he returned, he spoke directly and without flourish. "Ms. Hart is competent," he said. "Her choices, however inconvenient to her adult son and his wife, are the choices of a person asserting autonomy after a period of exploitation. The petition is denied. Further, any attempt to access her finances without consent will be considered harassment and referred to the proper authorities." I exhaled a breath I felt I'd been holding since the day my phone first buzzed with those wedding photos. Leo wouldn't meet my eyes when we left the courtroom. Mira did, and hers burned. They walked away quickly, their lawyer following like a shadow in a hurry. I expected to feel triumph. What I felt was space, not empty, open. I went home and made tea the way I did when my husband was still alive, letting the steam warm my face. I wrote down a list of things I had postponed: visit my sister, repaint the bedroom, take a watercolor class, donate to the shelter where I used to volunteer, learn to bake the bread my grandmother made on Sundays. I changed my will to reflect what I valued rather than who demanded it. I set aside a small fund for emergencies of my choosing, not automatic, not expected. I joined Ruth at the community garden and learned the names of plants I'd only admired through glass. I started walking by the river at dusk, where the city lights float on the water and even the loudest days soften. Weeks later, Leo sent a message. "We can talk if you're ready." I stared at the screen for a long time. I wrote back, "I'm ready to be treated as a person, not a wallet. If you can do that, we can talk." He didn't respond that day. He hasn't responded yet. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will when the rent is due. I hope he writes for another reason someday. I hope he remembers the boy who brought me dandelions and called them flowers. I hope, but I do not budget for hope anymore. People ask if I'm lonely. I tell them the truth. Being alone with yourself is easier than being surrounded by people who only love the sound of your ATM receipt. I have quiet now, and in that quiet I can hear my own life again. It's not dramatic. It's breakfast and light on the kitchen tile and a neighbor knocking because her basil is out of control and would I please take some. It's a blue dress hanging in the closet that I still might wear to an afternoon concert, to my sister's porch, to my own small celebration of learning to say no. I used to think love meant never letting go. Now I think it means holding on to yourself first. If you're listening and you've been told you're not special enough to sit at the table but special enough to pay the bill, let me hand you the sentence that saved me. I decide what my love pays for, and today it pays for me.